Good morning. Or whatever it is, wherever you are. Well, I've been running the local version for the past week. There's probably still a few other, like, almost like workflows I need to go through, but for my daily stuff, it's pretty good. The only thing is, like, this takes up a lot of space. I think what I want to do is have this thing have a one tier bar. Huh. Oh, right, 'cause I haven't loaded any data. So this is probably like an arc long replayer at this point. Yeah, so having this thing select this entire period here is actually not very useful. I think I might actually want to do that first. That's what I do. I might want to see about doing a population thing if we have population data loaded. So right now, we loop over all of them. I think we end up reversing it. We would have to go to the end of the list. That's a little bit unfortunate. Do we have the information necessary? Well, we should know if we're in animated state or not, and we should know if we're in. Ooh, this thing isn't changing state at all. That was probably following data animated before. We did timeline visible. We did timeline visible as a thing you. No, this is the thing we send. Timeline toggle set checked. Status true, status false. Timeline toggle, icon time. Regular buttons should still default to cancel button. Nothing else should be acting on that. Okay, we ended up using that same method for our says map button and map toggle. So it's button. Empty string. Okay. Empty string. Specifically empty string? What the? I guess status is a variable somewhere. No, you're an old one of those. Oh, no, I opened a compiler. I didn't open a source window. Of course, timeline visible just got a lot more complicated. Because that's actually going to become kind of a trinary thing now. And this is, well, I guess from the map perspective, it's just this button. And that will follow from full-size timeline. All right, so we had a display timeline. So this is going to figure out what to do with that. Um, the lazy stuff doesn't actually work for most of this. Right, we actually just kind of figured that out last time. Oh, wait, were we doing this? Yeah. If timeline visible. This is going to become like an OR data animated and... Well, no. Somewhere we're determining timeline visible here. Timeline toggle. Okay, let's see. So we do have a model state for that, which is going to be the same as that button, which is going to be the full timeline. Toggle animated sets timeline visible. Well, to an extent, it is visible in both cases. So this is, I might want to make you not Boolean for one. That would make things very clear from the Elm side. We can't do these Boolean combinators then to determine things. Did we have? No, that I mean, map animatable is a thing. Oh, it actually came from Leaflet. So data animated can be static, animated, or inert. But we're not going to communicate this level of detail with Leaflet. Maybe this kind of goes with timeline stuff. Timeline visible, timeline status. Which can be, well, we're almost certainly have something called hidden already. Or none. We've already got a timeline blank for the individual things. So there's the fully open. There's like the mini player, timeline player. Oh, actually, that follows from this, interestingly enough. So there's already something there. Timeline expanded. Wait, we don't even have a valid code right now. Oh, I think I know why. This one does not use equal there because it's on the next line. Which means other things are going to have to be able to talk about this. This is going to be a lot like sidebar? Sidebar mode. So maybe it should be timeline mode. Well, no, the mode is the internal thing. There's also... I just called it sidebar. Okay, so that's all stuff that is to that. What? Closed sidebar. Oh, we've got well, that's internal to the time bar. Did I reorder these? I mean, drag mode and hover is related to this. Screen location is related to this. And these just need to be reordered. All right, timeline visible equals timeline closed. We're just gonna change you. And then lots of things are going to interact with this. Okay, so you're going to get, so from the leaflet perspective, all we care about here is if it is not equal to timeline closed. We covered all models, so that should be fine. This is doing a toggle, so now this has to get a lot more involved. Should this do a couple different? Well, I guess it's see it as being three different things. If it's closed, then maybe the trinary state is a derivative. Because it kind of falls out of animated state and whether we've indicated it's visible. On the display side, it's could be considered a fact. Of course, there's the function. Wait, animated as a Boolean. Or maybe that's the data animated. Map animatable. Because it's going to be visible to an extent here, but it's going to be different. We're going to end up doing a lot of closed open checks for that stuff. And for sending to leaflet, that's all we're going to care about. Is this status... Well, the status will still change as going between those, because it will be... Well, no, this status wouldn't change. Here, we're opening it, and that changes this status. This would actually still be full timeline and wouldn't change at all. This would only change based on that. And so based on this, we're going to flip between, in animated, it's going to be full or many, and then in static, it's going to be full or none. Do I even have this status variable? It would be kind of an accurate description of the display of it, but since it's completely determinable from the other facts, we could just be doing that in the view. So right now we've got a function display timeline. Where do we actually want to change? Actually, I don't think we can lazy anything here without significant work. Maybe I need to undo... Well, I mean, having an idea what my narrowed thing is, but it's not actually lazy. So that time overlay probably actually is potentially lazy. Timeline, there's virtually no way we can get all of that stuff. Well, because this is going to involve the map time. Well, I guess if we're truly static, but if we're re-rendering, then something changed anyway. That's probably not doing any good. Anyway. Map time. So there's our switch for the button. And model.timelines. So really, this would just be... we would... Actually, no, yeah, if we reverse it and then take the head... conditionally, that would be a switch off of the same... off of this also. So by itself, I guess we could prototype this. We still want it to be a list just so it flows nice. Yeah. It's going to affect how we interact with the timeline visible stuff a little bit. And then, let's see, do we make the application conditional? I don't know how to do that in the pipeline. We would have to do something like, and we had this. Oh no, actually we can conditionally supply a function in here that gets applied. Oh, this isn't... No, it's not that simple, though. It's not anytime we're animated, it's depending on the timeline visible status. So actually above here, we are gonna have to be doing some consideration for that. Huh, so that's assuming, in that case, we would always be here. So it would actually be if timeline visible, which used to be something we would assume going in here. So this would be timeline visible and model dot data animated. Is it animatable? No, this would be an OR. And then the size of it's going to change. All right, which one are you not happy with? Animatable. Data anim. That's just okay. That's just a Boolean. And we lost a parenthesis. All right, that in and of itself should do something. But we're still switching the status based on other stuff. So map UI, timeline visible. Okay, model status. The timeline toggle, true. If we toggle animation status, we no longer change that state or send that state to the map. So this technically isn't a batch anymore. All right, so you toggle. You make it visible without doing that. This won't do anything right now because we don't have the view fully finished. So this just kind of got a lot more complicated. All right, so now we actually have to get that visible status down to here. Map animatable. Oh, so map animatable was actually a different thing from data animated. Okay, we were using map animatable for this play button. Can we be in... Well, if it's inert, we wouldn't even have this selection, I think. So that's probably it. But if that's that... If it's animatable... So what's data animated? Oh, because we can get the animatable status independent of what was selected here. So data animated is what we had picked when this is available. But it should also indicate if that should effectively be unanimated, that should be animated. Show browse. I guess animated also follows from sidebar mode selection. Well, if we're in an animatable mode, that's why we need this bar, so that's probably fine. So map animatable. Timeline visible needs to be known down here, so we can do the extras or not. All right. So if we're drawing this, it could be because timeline visible or because data was animatable. We're always going to show this. So really it comes down to timeline visible if we show the rest or not. And if timeline visible, then we do everything, then I guess identity. Else let's take one. And do I need parentheses there? I guess I do. All right, so animated gives us this. Okay. We are not getting what we want out of this. Oh, because we still have this take one here from our experiment. Okay, you get playback, you get the full thing. That just does play mode. This gets us full bar or not. Oh, so playback is actually going over a more recent period, but this was showing us more, which, okay, so that's its own little desync. Do we have, should those even be separate? All right, so this is minibar. And then if we're here, you won't have the play option, although no, there's going to be snapshots. So, ooh, we're slightly over. I just kind of want to push that down a little bit. All right, so our initial default selection does the entire bar for that. What's the model thing? Is this set time range? We do specifically 1 and 0. So that's the arc. Here, M range. So are we defaulting to the entire arc? So we're selecting that arc and then also the range of the entire arc. So it's going to go through here, right? Which means it's pretty much going to go through here. So there's jump time. So our default selection might be arc. Time selection around. Hours after, select matching life, data range. Arc list could be it. Span list. All right, set time range. You technically already have a let. This is time selection for time. Although, does time selection around do something? Oh, time selection around does. Okay, so you already had your let. We had hours after, which should be a UI thing. Select matching life I can pretty much guarantee isn't happening. That really should be from life data, so arc. Arc list, span list, span list. All right, that should cover everything. Okay, so is ArcList that is doing it here? So we're turning the arc into a range. We're saying select that. And that's always doing a 2-level select. Right. We're doing an arc-based select, but model timeline isn't really an arc. Do I need a special setter for that that's just going to do... only an arc? Timeline range is exposed. It requires us to, kind of requires knowing something about indexes. Okay, so you're a maybe. So that's the model. That's the range. Oh. Well, now the span list is coming in. And that's setting things. So this is actually just a order of operation. Interesting. Just a network order of operations. Although I'd swear we didn't even see span list in the list of things that happened. Are we... Is this actually changing behavior? No, there's span list. And then it's fine. Okay, I can't redo it. This is a more appropriate response. The, this difference is a little interesting. Had I moved to a time when there was no spans? All right, so that gives us just enough to do. Okay, just respond. 917. Yeah, so this is just going over the most recent span, which we're not going to be able to see much from here. Well, if at this scale, there kind of isn't anything really animatable. If we had life data, there would be. That's more of a higher level feature. I don't remember what half these things do. And you have to be a little bit careful here because if you had a wider time selection, you could technically even be going through these things. I guess you could just drag through at that point. All right, debug.log. I wonder if this could be the same thing. Where it's like span list was picking the top bar and then arc was coming in and doing something different? I guess I could, maybe I could do like if it's 100% coverage check to, but then that could also override a user thing. Okay, so initial time range. So we actually have to be here. Okay, so this was, no, this had to be the order of operations again because those are matching up. Or are they? Was this just the time position was not all the way up? This might have just been because when we started today, we got a time. And then as we refreshed, that time changed. But we were still locked onto that for, oh, okay, that was the end of that. The end of the data. Oh yes, this isn't the entire arc. And there was no sub-selection this time, so we must have got the order flipped again? So they came in the other order. We had an arc scale selection. Huh. But if we had a span scale selection and without the arc list, we wouldn't have been able to select that intermediate thing. But it's just a couple of network operations. Uh, okay, yeah, that does go to this whole range. So that was just the start point was here. It wasn't a time range per se. It was the start point. So this is more of a general quality of life thing. Indeterminacy. Terminate. Oh, that went beyond our, yeah, are these things. Oops. Okay, if local server offline, then search gets the wrong range. Okay, so what are our ranges at? Oh, what is this? Why is this? Okay, so probably this might have been my optimization. So that isn't responding to sidebar changes, which change the effective width. Probably just do this now. So map UI, rebuild timelines. So window size and sidebar, closed sidebar, sidebar toggle. I guess I should get down a reproduction first. So did I open this and then open this? Yes, okay. Okay. All right, and then this was something about didn't set range. Then search gets wrong range. Okay, this was a current time. We did get span, so we're in the span selection. And search gets wrong range. I didn't do sufficient description here. You've got something. There was no sets here at all. So maybe I fixed this? Okay, so I think this is probably not. This is we're kind of covered. This was, if we are back online, we could do something with the data we got. Come on, you were just running. There we go. It usually starts up a lot faster, though. No, it's still not a functioning server. What the heck? Is it messed up because there was some, like, pending network request for that port or something? Okay, that was faster. All right, so we want to say, so the default setup we're going to do is that this is going to get set to the data range. So it's going to be arc, data range, full data range. So that means our top bar is going to, we could also be in an individual mode. So this might be a thing where in this condition we set it to have that data model. We had the timeline data mode, which had been very, very similar things so far. Now, had I fully parsed this data before? Life data? Toggle show life data? Life data visible? No data layer, data layer. Yeah, that's a decode value. Oh, and we could basically send that JSON over, that's fine. Yeah, we just recorded which server it was for. So probably, oh, okay, you are recorded. Do we have... Okay, I did not return the server population levels because we didn't need that before. Ooh. So for a large period, you could get most of it right just by counting births and deaths. Unfortunately, this adds... Oh, this must be reversed order because you never died. It's like you'd have like a 1 hour ramp and a 1 hour ramp. Or it would flatline because there were no deaths. We'd have some deaths recorded. We'd have bursts recorded. Oh, yeah, we'd have the deaths. We were only filter based on bursts. That would be the ramp down of deaths. So that's not a freebie. So what, if we're going to use the data as is, it would be counting births and deaths, which would mean births times and death times, is all we'd actually have to decode for this purpose. And we probably do have, we have some kind of decoder from we've got a lives. So we do have a decoder for the entire thing, which I don't know if we use everything. We might want, let's see, so that would be, well, you'd almost want to process it twice. Or you could process it to birth time, death time, and then do further processing on that. But those, see, so we're doing it by birth, so we always have a birth time. We might have a death time. So that is itself is almost a reason to do it as two separate passes. All right. Yeah, I guess I could turn that into data that we could just kind of pass to own charts, because we would turn it into +1s and -1s, and then you could turn that into a sum. I don't know if you could get the decoders to process that directly. Because the list things aren't gonna pass information down. What if I just process it into timestamp into a bunch of lists that we appended, and we would either generate 1 or 2 entries? And I suppose, yeah, that first hour is going to be unreliable. There's nothing we can really do except wait 1 hour before considering it real. Soft population. So you're going to be a list, but we actually want to do some processing on you. You're going to be like a list of lists, and then we have to transform it. Now this could just be a straight up map too, actually. Map to... Do we have a tuple function? Tuple.pair. Oh, we have to do something with you too. This might be... The field is definitely there. It's just a null or not. This might be a little tricky to get into the format I want. So actually, you're not a tuple.pair. This is... You're going to be a tuple pair. So I'm going to get you. I'm going to map you. And we're going to do that first, which makes this a harder, a slightly less convenient thing to type. Is this a map, or is this an and then? And then can do further decoder things. So map is fine. This isn't tuple.pair. This is... how do we do this conditionalist thing? All right, so you are going to be a maybe T. If it's all maybes, we could just do a filter identity on it. So you natively are a maybe timestamp. That would make it a different type here. If always produced... Could I do a decode on the death time and then conditionally do other stuff? So that would all decode to a maybe time. And then we either decode a single thing or we decode the two things. And we're going to do this, this one regardless. To do more decoder stuff, it would have to be an and then. But it would just kind of be, well, we've got this value, depending on what that does. The simplest thing might be to... Okay, so that's a maybe. So you would be a maybe.map? For even more parentheses? I could put the just out here to make them a little bit more similar. No, because that's a function application then, so that doesn't quite work. This is not a tuple dot pair. This is a list of two elements. That happen to be two maybes. Um, Add an element to the front of a list. We have to make a list to do something with it. We could make it two lists. And then we'd be able to like append and filter them. Of course, once we make it lists, we can do that, and we actually have to do more of a full thing to do this. More of a full function. Just T and nothing. And then what do we do with a pair of lists? This would be a map append. Map 2. Decoder list. Right, this is over a list. This is a list of lists. We still have to do an operation on this, which is going to be concat. List.concat. Okay. Make that available. We would need to save this in the model to be able to use it. I guess since we're keeping no data right now, that would become our data. Now are we actually using server ID? Or was that just kind of a placeholder because we had to have something there? Okay, well that's receiving it, so that's, yeah. data x, if x equals server ID. So yes, we are using that. So we have to keep that around somewhere. And I guess I eventually want to process that data into something, huh? The decoder might seem like a little bit of a weird way to do that. So you actually need to do our sum. So concat that all into there. We want to transform the incrementals into... It's going to be like the cumulative sum. Would this be a fault? So we're going to take a list of... You don't actually care about the timestamps for this particular step. Into a list of t int that happens to be different ints. I forget which one's more efficient. All right, and then we have to have... Okay, it's function first. So you have to be... You have to be a single entry. And you have to be the delta. And you have to be a state. Because we have to keep track of our total. And we have to keep our total and a list. Which is just going to be an int. So we are going to return, well, we have to do our new total. And we have to return t. And then we have to have our initial total, which we don't know what the actual initial total is. And that will just apply to this. And then we have to pull, we have to break this out. Let's see, we put this in the second part. Okay, so it actually doesn't like the function itself. This has to be a total state. Takes too few arguments. Right. We have our current. Okay, so there's this. There is the results, and we have a new entry. And we have to turn this, and we have to put you onto there, which maybe we need a reverse on here. Needs the first argument to be number. Anonymous function of type, but foldel needs the first argument to be to number number. Why does it need it to be number number? Oh, do I have this backwards? Yeah, I have this backwards. Okay, so that's okay, and then, so we can cat everything together, and then we can cumulative sum. And then we can go to model. Okay, you're not requested, that's fine. There's only going to be a couple of places we look into this. X, and you don't care about the second part. And this would be where we set it equal to data, right? Data server ID. Oh, this is lineage lives. Oh. But data layer, we use the same thing for both? But we actually decoded in this case. Okay, so lives is actually... Well, lives is probably our list. Huh. So this wouldn't represent a population necessarily because this is a life search. But we're using data layer for both. So I guess it's a separate field. Yeah, lives actually is a remote data as well. Because that wouldn't, yeah, that wouldn't get set there. All right, so map UI back to, what was it, 15 something? So that'll compile. Now we need to get where data layer equals data. So that's lineage lives, which that's not going to represent a server population. Data layer is going to represent a search of some sort. Oh. Yeah, if we did an Eve search, it's not going to be, that's not going to be accurate either. If I returned the population at the time of those eves, it would be moderately useful, but that's more data on every single entry that you're... I guess if you open the timeline, it's useful. Data... Right, decodes can fail, can't they? So lineage is going to have that. Okay, data points. You see, that was doing the raw decode. We could have done some of the stuff here. If it's an error to string, HTTP bad body, it's a failed data. Case value. Okay. This was lives. And this should still be changing infrequently enough that we can. Well, this is going to have to go down to our view functions. Current arc. Map time. The data we're currently putting on here is like. Actually, that's in the timelines itself. Maybe there should be a type for this. And I probably have to turn that into int before I can pass it to. Well, maybe you can handle times. And there's stuff for time axis. You are the wrong character. Alright, and then our individual timelines. Well, we have to figure out which ones actually get that treatment. Alright, so time control we didn't bother with because we're constructing a new record every time. It's the backgrounds, or the lazy mattered, and it's going to be a different function that we're calling. Oh, this actually comes back to model. So we had timeline arcs. So we would kind of be determining this here. It's kind of like an if available kind of thing. Okay, so you're doing snaps. Ooh, do we have snaps? Not as much. I mean, maybe you want to go to a population change, but probably not. Because there's going to be a lot of them. Okay, and then view is going to switch off of that? Yes. All right, display timeline ranges. This is not a ranges. This is going to be a graph. Would that be generic enough? And then these were all ranges. So this is going to be model.population. So we're going to do a lot of stuff similar to this. going to be a chart. I mean, you were a list POSIX because it was ranges. So this is going to be a POSIX int. Ranges. All right, min and max. Line.min time, line.max time, background. Palette. We already had a data here. All right, so we had index, we had start end. So okay, so this is doing the recs. This actually might not be as much of a custom thing. It's going to be kind of just an ordinary graph if it can handle the data type. This is going to be a kind of line chart. Probably linear interpolation. Oh, does it only fill for stacked? That might be a dated presentation opinion. Yeah, there's no display information there. Opacity of the area under the curve. Oh, or maybe it's over here. I didn't see it. Nope, that's blank. So that's a default presentation of stacked. And this is also stacked. This is a gradient. Gradient, oh, I guess just opacity must be 0 by default. Well, let's get the basic line in. You don't talk about time series in this context. Basic color position. Custom. Yeah, so in fact, you never talk about time. Times from a zone generator. Yeah, what's a time? It's a timestamp. A zone is first. Interesting. A unit. Just day and the day changes. Different formatting for those ticks. Based on its unit. Is interval? No, this is a completely separate. Nice intervals for access labels. Oh boy. Well, I'm not going to have labels at all, technically. Wait, what? Is this in like an access module? No, this is in chart. Oh, you know what? We probably need a something that turns the POSIX into an integer for the chart. But that would be kind of part of the standard thing. Data with an accessor, so our accessor has to turn it into like an integer-ish thing. So our data is just tuples, so we have like first and second, and if we need to do a transform on it. So I don't think we have to do this whole thing. So actually, I guess it kind of is data. Oh, maybe we still have monuments. I mean, it is an option. All right, so data is just data because we've already turned this into a thing. So maybe this really should have been data equals chart.series. I guess this is the base axis. So the x for this is going to be tuple dot first time dot POSIX to millis. And the y for this is just going to be tuple dot second. So we need x c dot interpolated, and it wants y first. Oh no, this is series. Oh, this is y and z. So really, it's just two things. So data monuments, the line.time range. Oh, this is the selection box. Oh, I call it chart here. X value is a POSIX to int, but series. Okay, we'll also have to do these to float. Series needs the second argument to be. So that's interpolated. Oh, we have extra arguments, which are going to be properties for something. Anonymous function of coordinate.plane chart.element. Oh, with plane must be something else? An anonymous function. With plane is a plane to list of elements series to an element. Series produces an element. Okay, so this actually just is the same thing. And that was for the custom data things? Oh no, you were the first element. No. 357. This is... Oh, time controls have to get this because they end up doing the individual layers. So the line was there. This was some pretty basic stuff. Oh well. No, this is going to end up in timelines. We don't need this in the model. Model.population. So this is going to be in the timeline. So you don't have to be that then. Okay, now that does nothing until we actually use it. All right, so this is let snaps. Oh, args is the thing we don't use anymore. Okay, so if index equals 0, we produce worlds. Else, we produce spans. This doesn't know if it's the last one, does it? It knows if it's 0. We have the entire model, so we'd still know how many there are, which means we do kind of know which one is the last one. So this is like timeline ranges, timeline range. Timeline selections. If index is less than, well, this is something else, but array length, let's see, array dot length. So it would be like index minus 1 would be the last one. Oh, if typical span width less than blah. So this is the decision point. Data. Oh. So there's raw ranges, and then there's raw data, which you can use for identification purposes, I guess. Well, we're not going to use these ranges, so I guess that we can just ignore those. If index is equal to array.length model.timeline selections, perhaps this would be easier to say index plus 1. Although I guess -1 is more accurate, but we have to deal with parentheses then. And then you're an else if. Okay, you're then. We don't process it in this case. Oh, it's a remote data. So we would care that it is some kind of data. Oh, hey, look, we've got our remote data. So this would be model dot population all right, so that visible. All right, that did not work. Oh, or maybe we didn't regenerate our timelines because we didn't used to need to do that on population. Population equals, actually there are some cases where we're going to have to make sure to erase this as well. Whenever we do a search that would clear it. Okay, so that did something. I might have to do some kind of scaling to like tell the chart how big it is. Actually, it's I wonder if it's a 1 unit right now. Yeah, so there's a chart.height, chart.width. Chart.height, chart.width. That's the native range of the thing. So we're not dealing with the inner values here. We're kind of leaving it up to the library to deal with the chart series. Okay, these are going through similar transformations. We're doing times. We're doing x's in just POSIX to Millie's float. So that seems to match up. I guess we never actually checked that we're getting useful data out of here. Could have been a decoder fail. Okay, okay, so our sum failed. It's still ones and zeros. You'd still expect something, but maybe they ended up balanced. Oh, I need to resort them by time. Everyone's doing a birth, and a death. So technically the sort's a separate thing, but we might just stick it in here. Sort by... yeah, derived property works. Um, I mean, sort. I don't know if tuples are comparable. Yeah. And I don't know if even if we did tuple dot first, if it would know what to do with that. Oh, okay. Um, right, because we didn't care what that value was until we did. Can I get by with comparable? Or is our times not comparable? Or POSIX is not comparable? Comparable. Yep, and it's saying POSIX does not count. Which means this has to be a POSIX, because now we have to convert it. And I have a feeling this is just parentheses, because operators are weird. No, that's still 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. That is not believable. Well, okay, that was from before. Okay, so sorted. Okay, so that's the plus ones and minus ones. 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1. You don't feel sorted to me. I mean, they're going to be in some kind of order. Oh, did I. Didn't actually get to death time. 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Maybe. Maybe. Still nothing here. That's points. Now we've drawn. And no, these are numbers. And we even. Okay, that has to be in reverse. Because there's no way we start at 20. So this needs a list.reverse. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a bit more reasonable. Charts is still not having any of it, though. Oh wait, no, it's on the wrong timeline. Okay. Array dot length. Okay, so the start is completely bogus. I'm not sure, and I could add additional data to it to say it's within 1 hour and they're therefore completely bogus. Also, I would need to do something in here to give you feedback about what that data is. Also, they chose an arbitrary color for that, which has actually turned out to be okay, but for consistency, chart ta.color, and you probably have a completely different color model, don't you? Color to string. And this is the first series of parentheses here. And as indeed palette.selected. So I guess, well, no, that bumps it up one, so. Huh. So I actually kind of want this on. Anything on a comparable size? It's like anything below that. I don't see. So right now we're doing this no matter what. There is the point at which the markers on there are probably not too useful. And that point would be what? Well, it depends on the range of values in our population, doesn't it? And other than the fact that we might want to know what our last timestamp of that is, that should be equal to our time range, no? Well, our map time range, do we even have that? I don't know, drag. When we first do it, we set our animation range to the range of the received data, which actually I've been getting from from JavaScript because we haven't even been parsing this data before. And I guess in a sense we don't even have to well, we'd have to keep the value around at least. Have to parse it unless we're showing a timeline. We have the ability to show it. We need to work on, well, resetting it at appropriate times and figuring out when to draw it and identifying the kind of suspect times. I mean, arguably we should just kind of drop the first hour because it's not realistic. So we take the first value, we would add 60 minutes and drop that, and we just kind of not appear on the graph. Although that's where we would get what that time range is. You kind of do want to have the entire thing around. Points. Maybe we actually want to get the usable time is list.head points, which is a maybe. And then we want to map that to x. Really, we can do this in int. We just have to be able to do math on it. It's not necessarily equal to the min and max time there. Well, list.head and, well, tuple.first. And then maybe .map, and I guess you could have worked this in as one. T plus 60 minutes times 60 seconds times 1,000 milliseconds. And this is all kind of icky. And I guess we would maybe dot with default min time. Okay, so you were already converted to millis, so that works. And then you are going to be list dot. Do we have a do we have like a drop while? No. So a basic filter is going to be really inefficient. We'd actually have to write our own recursive function to do this nicely, since we were assuming assuming a sorted list. So given a pair, and we don't care about this for this part, we want to know if time.posix to millis of t is greater than or equal to usable time. Usable points is a function. Okay, yeah, so that's missing because we know you can't really say for certain what the population there is. Unless we go back and ask the server for it. And then we need some feedback on what this means. So there's some little bit of cleanup we need to do. So anywhere we manipulate data layer, like there, lineage lives, we've done a search, that's going to replace our data. Because that wouldn't make sense there. That's actually setting it. This is failed. No data layer. Not requested might actually... Could maybe have worked for that one case. Request recent lives. Our selected lives. And that's the way I was kind of trying to bind it together before, but we do have the discrepancy between we use data layer for two things, which maybe means I shouldn't do that. All right, set server update. So we've switched servers. All right, and there was one case we did not available. Not requested might be more accurate. Oh, this is some derived model, I guess. Okay, or I misspelled population. All right, so display side. We can display that kind of any time where the ranges are similar, and the farthest range of that is going to be a little bit of a... Maybe what I need to do is I need to save that. Of course, if I make that a separate variable, then we're back to setting things in multiple places. I could perhaps make the range an additional field of our base data layer, because we can get that from both places. Also feedback. Where do we do that currently? Is that entirely a view function? No, we probably determine. So this is in our base thing. We're returning an age. Display timeline. Which goes down to you, which is naturally lazy. Label time, label note. Okay, so hovering is... What is hovering? Timeline ID, POSIX, and... we just did a string. So maybe we only do population in certain cases, and we just pre-convert the string, which is a little suspect. I could also have a different type for population mode. It would be an int, and we can deal with it as a display thing. Hovering, label time, label note. Okay, so they would both have times. You're also a hovering. And you don't care about the note, so this says that maybe we shouldn't do those separately. And you don't care about the note. If index equals 0, then it's that, else it's nothing. And we want to say if index is top and we have population, then we could, this doesn't account for the, if it's in the first hour thing. Conceivably, we could put our server threshold on here too. How do we, I guess I could treat it as a different line. Would that be navigation? Oh, use dates as labels. Custom formatting. Limit or extend your range and domain. And I'll label and line. Okay, so that's that line. Guidance lines. It's a plane with the see that line. Okay. I guess that's only relevant to certain time periods. We don't have this as programmatic data right now. And it also varies with time. So maybe this has to come back to one of these kinds of things. Oh man, if you actually were over the point where that changed, I don't know if we're gonna get that fancy. Maybe I need to commit this and then come back for the label. Because it's been a little while. Notes. Yeah, display conditions are still suspect. We have display conditions and we have hover feedback. So hover feedback comes down to you. And right now, our condition is still, is it? I guess we actually know which, if we have an index, we know what its data is. So that lets it be, which is actually a better condition because that's determined by the timeline then. Because we have a line, so we know what its data is. And that is just timeline.data of timeline blank. Actually, I guess it is going to be the case that most of these are going to be the same. So maybe we just need to do like timeline worlds, which was kind of what we were doing here. Worlds. And if we're here, that's not a maybe. Oh, I still need to do current worlds, world for time. And that might be a maybe. And then we have timeline population, which is going to be our own data. You can be that for now, and then in all their cases, blank and spans and whatnot, we're just going to do that. So that is not in and of itself correct. Expecting to see an expression next. Timeline worlds is a valid thing. What is your problem? Nothing weird there. It's got a 2-space indentation. Line.data is a timeline data. What's your problem? You don't like the let block? It's usually fine with one lines. But maybe that's throwing it off because there's double indentation here. Okay. So that's far more regimented, and it's still complaining. An expression next. Unfinished let. What the heck? Maybe dot map name. World for time, POSIX list world. That's 2 arguments. So the issue appears to actually be this thing. But I got stuck here. I was expecting... Happen with the value. Okay. So indent U. What the heck? So I can't completely... Can't completely just sort of temp this in, because this thing all has to be syntactically correct too. And it's utterly confused. Wait, why? Why is this spacing weird? Yeah, there was some weird character in there or something. See, there's a little bit of a weird character here too. What did we put in there? So we just had... How did we get garbage in there? Huh. Anyway. Alright, so this needs to know the world for time. We don't have a function for that. World for time, arc for time. List of POSIX and int. Maybe int, and I actually want to just convert it to a string. This is going to be a case of we want the nearest entry. Maybe more of a fold. We also need our cursor. Oh, if it's a world, it has a time. Well, time is wherever the cursor is. So it's just going to be the current best guess. Europosix. So we can pre-convert this one. Abs. More parentheses. And so there's the absolute value, and we want this if this. If that is more parentheses. Then I need this value. Or no, actually, no, I do need both things. I need the best time, and I need the best integer. You're probably going to be the best milliseconds, really, because we just want to keep that around that way. And we care about the absolute time or just how close it is? I guess just how close it is. Then we return distance and our value, else we return best ms, best integer. And we need a starting value. So that's going to be a very large distance, basically. And that's going to reduce it down to a single value, but we actually want... That's not a maybe. No, it's not a maybe. We're guaranteed to get at least a 0. Okay. Why are you saying it's an int? Now we pre-converted this from time. You're doing the POSIX to millis. Argument is an anonymous function of type int POSIX int. I get the arguments backwards again. Needs to be POSIX POSIX. Yes, I guess I did. I always do that somehow. Okay. time. You're not current world. Oh, actually, this is something we didn't finish converting. Okay, then you map to name. You're on data. This is not a maybe. And then we are... we actually have to format this as well. Since we're just putting it into the generic string hole. String dot from int. Parentheses, we can close that function. So we can do a string add. Was this a maybe? Oh, and you're a nothing. Oh, you were a maybe note, so it does have to be a just. Or I guess, oh, we use pop twice. That's a definite, so you are a just. Whatever. Ugh. Okay. So this would be nothing in that case. If we have data. Yeah, that's hanging right around the messy point. That's not accurate per se. And this isn't returning what the time is. I kind of want to do that truncation on acquisition, but that also kind of loses the timestamp that we have any data for, which might be useful because we wouldn't have to go to JavaScript for it. Maybe we call that a step. All right, so right now it's just the top one, which works on our initial search. This... Okay, so it's only displaying it here, but there wasn't actually data there in some cases. So that wouldn't really be a good time to show that. We kind of want something where there's reasonable range overlap. Maybe I need to have a structure for our data here. Thing is, it's going to kind of end up being some maybes because And maybe this is where I need to rethink putting it in the same slot. One of the reasons I think was that this noted that the data was for that server, so if we change servers, that would get cleared. Maybe we just have to deal with that and treat that as a separate data set. Do we treat this as a separate data set? We don't only parse it if there's data there. Actually, that was lineage? Lineage lives. Data layer, yeah, lives equals. Okay, search might have been cross. Player search was probably cross servers. Perform live search. And it's display results. Yeah, data layer versus display results. So those are treated a little bit differently on communication front. So this is setting this. This is setting this probably to keep track of what's here. And the fact that it's linked to a server. And what do we want? We want to say that when we get this list of stuff, we want to get the range over which we have valid data, and that is very closely tied to population data and also kind of to data layer. In the case that we have lives, we know the range of it. In the case that we just do data, well, now we get the range from here. And we've been getting range information back from JavaScript since it was dealing with all lives before. Now that we're parsing the birth and death times, we have that out of here. So I could potentially store the range under data layer server ID because we're going to have that either from the lives or from the population data in any case where we actually set that to data. So that would turn that into a small compound thing. We would have the total range of that data. The total range of that data would be usable to decide when it's appropriate to show the population graph over the timeline. I could keep it just as a separate fact, but it is going to be at least maybe, because we sometimes don't have no data. Remote data would be a more accurate reflection of it, and this thing is a remote data. We don't actually end up referencing the type of field that it is very often. We don't really want to be checking this because it's going to be the end of a list is where we have to go to figure out Let's see, and then once we have the total range, I might actually be able to truncate the stuff that's not accurate. They're just not requested, so that's fine. Now everybody's going to be all mad. All right, your server ID. This is Lineage Lives, so we have to do some intermediate processing here. And in fact, this can be itself, this is itself would be remote data. Only, this is definitely here even if the parsing fails. Well, we could probably do this as a transformation of that, that's fine. Lives is lives. And data layer. What are you? You're like a remote data.map because of the stuff that's actually in there. Do I want you to be... You still have to deal with server ID sometime. Lives, remote data.map. If we have the lives, then we have that, which should have the start. Oh. We have to account for the maybes in here. So one way to do this which wouldn't take full advantage of it being inside of a data container, I guess. Right, we're saying that this could fail. But I could do two separate maps. I guess I could still do that there. Just once we're in here. If that's the case, then we have server ID and we have that list. List dot, well, first map. Or do we use this as part of the function we're using? Are there? Like, yeah, there's some, but the list number, so we do have to map it first. List.map. Birth time? Birth time and death time. And we do have a minimum. Oh, birth time? Yeah, probably more interested in death time for the maximum, although there could technically be a birth that was after the last death. Oh, actually, no, we were just using birth time as our main data range. So are you a lot? We're going to be using this, right? But that still makes it a data, which is fine. Okay, so that just gives us our birth times. So now we can just do the tuple of list.minimum births to list.maximum births, and these always exist. And you could almost just be remote data.map. And there's something else that, and do you need a parenthesis? You need a parenthesis. And there's something else that deals with data layer. Oh no, we did use that internally. Life data. Oh, actually, you are over births. $571. You okay? Yep. No, your life data. Oh. And then their other case, 1594. Data X, don't care here. Really? We're back here? Value is not a function, but was given one argument. Now that's that tuple. That's that tuple. That's the function. This is the function, that's the data. You're supposed to be POSIX? Map. Oh, minimum. God. Turn it into milliseconds. Turn it back into POSIX. Not listed. Add even more parentheses. Yeah, this is you. POSIX to int a list. More parentheses. Never enough parentheses. Argument is maybe? Because it could be an empty list. What is our data range if it's an empty list? I guess it would end up as like model.timeRange. And you have to be a maybe map. And then maybe dot with default. Ooh. Time range is itself a maybe, isn't it? Did we say we don't have a data layer if there's no range? I guess this could have been an empty result. It's not actually an error if it's an empty list. So maybe this entire thing is a maybe range, and we just say we don't calculate it if the list is empty, and we just give it a garbage value because we know it's not empty. And then if it's a maybe time range, we can use that when we're setting our time range for other things instead of relying on. Well, this is one. In this case. Actually, in this case, do you set data range? Because this isn't the thing we would use data range for. Right, we're putting that in data layer. Technically, the lives we have are over. Well, lineage lives actually do kind of represent a timeable thing. I guess you could actually use it as population of this lineage. You wouldn't necessarily discard the first hour in that case, though? I'm not liking where this is going right now. That's pretty much all we've done. I'm wondering if population needs to be like a, rather than just a list, we have like a structure that's population. Given raw data, we get the list and a range. Just how often does that save us actually going to the end of the list to calculate range? We need it when we're doing timeline stuff, which we need to check every timeline to see if it's in the appropriate range. So I guess that might be worth doing. And we either have population or we don't. Population So there's a decode process. This deals with all the remote data stuff, so maybe you'd still want to have that be outside. When it's just data and then that gets assigned, you deal with the failures. There's the weirdness of having these two things separate all the time. We could record the server number, but our problem is we use data layer to, what do we do with it? The only place we use that data. Oh, this is data layer equals. This would be like a case data layer of. Well, this is testing the status of it a little bit. Data. Set server update. If it is a different server, then we need to go clear it on the map. And I guess I could have a no population model to stick in there. And then it would be down to one thing. All right, so display conditions is our next task. We kind of want to pre-compute the range just because it's expensive to get the end of it. And we're doing a lot of tuples right now. And that might be more than I want to deal with right now. Let's see, so like tomorrow, Monday morning, I'll be able to see timeline in action. Oh, did I shut down my server? Or am I at a weird time? I didn't see this update. I don't think I would have broken anything. Now see, this is saying, okay, it's truncated in here because it was a really big request. Did I do something to really increase the range? Oh, is this a, no, because we didn't even get a response. Is parsing the dates too much for it? We weren't having trouble with that before. Maybe doing it with this visible? No, it's fine. It's a little disconcerting, though. Because we've had that freeze a few times. Let's see, and then this is, yeah, this is early morning, so that's not surprising that it gets a little lower. All right, well, that's that. I need to, let's see, right. We're arbitrarily displaying the top one. We don't know if it's actually going to be the appropriate time range or not. It'd be nice to have the population switch marker on there. We'll have to probably put that in as a code change thing. But that's what I'm usually on. Let me see. So this would normally be, I guess, Monday morning with the guaranteed time, maybe in the evening if I'm feeling up to it. What do we got going on? But thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribers. Let's see. There's some kind of bot development. If you're looking for some place cool to hang out, Pope Pontus is, well, it's Node.js and SQLite. So I can kind of guess what's going on there. But that's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye and until next time.